to be enough of a baby kissing, handshaking, go along with the system at all kind of guy? Because I know you're an outspoken person.
Well, that's it. You know, at 57, I'm not looking for a career. I'm looking to make a change, and I want to represent. You are absolutely correct, Jim, in your assessment that I love this area. That's why I've been here as long as I have, and I appreciate the compliment that I have been involved with a lot of civic activities while I've been here, and have enjoyed every one of them. And I'm prepared to tell the truth. And yeah, I can kiss a baby, but I'm not. I'm doing it because I like the baby. It's not for me.
So you have no intention of going along to get along. Now, in front, I have your jobs plan in front of me. Obviously, you're savvy enough to know that almost everything takes a back seat when it comes down to people not being able to pay the rent. So in a nutshell, and I'll be reading some of this too and playing some of your tapes, but in a nutshell, what are you trying to tell people? How are we going to get jobs?
Well, you know, Jim, if you don't mind, there's another thing I want to point out about jobs, and this is why I believe that I'll be able to differentiate our campaign from others, and that is jobs are more than just the mortgage. Jobs are what create communities. When people have good jobs, Jim, and you know this, you love broadcasting, and people love their work in auto mechanics, and people love their work in auto repair, and people love their work in every walk of life, whether it be being a chef or a doctor, a dentist, you name it. And when people have good jobs, they create a fabric in a community that weave us together and create a better, stronger framework for a community like Southern Arizona, like this district. And that's why you're right, I want to fight to make sure that jobs and the people who create the Americans, the people of this district, the private entrepreneurs who create jobs are protected and not hindered by their government.
Well, small businesses had such a battle here. I know reforming the tax code was number one on your countdown list there. What would you do with the tax code? How would you change that?
Well, as you well know, there are several good ideas on the table right now between a fair tax, a flat tax, and just general overhauling the tax code. I challenge you, me, even your better accountants to explain what the tax code means. It's onerous. It's pages and pages. I think Alexander Hamilton would have a fit. And so I think I think as a baseline of discussing tax reform, I would take a look at the flat tax. And that would allow us to figure out how much we need, one, to spend, two, how much we need to raise. And if you take a look at those who've been in favor of flat tax, from Steve Forbes around 17%, and Herman Cain, who is looking at 9% flat tax, we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15, somewhere in the middle there. And that would raise sufficient revenues for the federal government to do the jobs it is required to do after we stop some of this runaway spending, and allow Americans to plan their own economic destiny.
Let me ask you about a flat tax, Dave, because to people who aren't money people, and I'm not, that's why I don't have a ton of it, why is it that it just seems so simple to say you want fair, it'll be the same for everyone. There you go, fair. I mean, done, right?
Correct. The guy who makes $5 million, let's say it's a 10% tax. The guy who makes $5 million is going to pay, $500,000 on taxes on it. And the guy who makes $50,000, and he's going to be paying 25. That's the way this thing works. He's going to pay $5,000. Everybody pays a schedule according to what they take in.
I want to ask you something that I would ask you if we were sitting having a beer as opposed to being on the show. I mean, when you're with your close friends and family and you're talking about, I love Tucson, the only thing wrong with it is this. I mean, if people could just get this fixed, we could really be something. I mean, what is this that could change?
Two things. I think we have to have a better relationship between picking leadership and getting behind the leadership. I think we've all got a responsibility. One of the things that drives me and motivates me, Jim, and I am a bit of a historian, and that is the fact since Lexington and Concord, all the way through Kabul, Afghanistan, the average age of the American combat death is 19.5 years of age. I would make a case that all of us owe the countless number of young Americans who've given their lives for our freedoms. And so, number one, I would like to see us have a better leadership and better citizen participation on the local level, and that would help us get potholes fixed and medians cleaned up, and the immediate local things that we need, and then also have a statewide opportunity, from the federal level. In education and other important topics where we just feel disenfranchised because the federal government says they're going to take care of it. Well, they don't. You take education, for instance, and to answer your question, I would like to see education move out of Washington and to each state capital. And I would suggest to you, Jim, and I think you'd agree with me, that if a mother or father was interested in taking on education, they would go to Phoenix and they could drive up there for the day, but they're not going to fly to Washington, D.C., and we do need that citizen input. So I think one of the magic wands I'd wave is have a better education system, and I would have more qualified leadership with a better citizen support and participation ethic, if you will.
We're talking with Dave Sitton, candidate for CD8 for Congress. Dave, a lot of people know your name associated with sports. What lessons from sports, whether camaraderie, leadership, whatever, would you be able to bring to the table or do you think could be incorporated in this run for Congress?
Well, I think the obvious one, and it gets back to the economics too, is competition. The American experience with capitalism is all about competition. Competition lowers prices when the government gets out of the way. It's interesting. If you want a real metaphor, can you imagine the Super Bowl if the referees decided to call a penalty on every play? We couldn't stand it. Well, that's what the federal government's done with our business. Even the Obama administration's estimation of what it costs a business every year for the federal regulations to comply and to report, it's about $10,000 per employee. That's a lot of money out of the economy that's going to referees. And that's basically what we've done. So if you want a sports metaphor, I would say that the federal government should be a good referee. Call the fouls that are necessary and otherwise stay out of the player's way. And that's exactly the problem with our federal government right now. If you want it in a sports context, that's what I would suggest.
All right. How about when you're looking at all the candidates, and just like a couple of years ago, David, there are great candidates running for CD8, even though this is the shortened one as you lead to CD2. How do you differentiate yourself and the way you're approaching this position compared to some of the others in the race?
Well, the easy thing to point out, Jim, you did already. I've got 38 straight years in this district. I've lived through booms and busts in this district, and I love the place, and I know it pretty darn well. I don't know everything about it. No, nobody does. But I do know quite a bit about it, and I'm not done learning about it either. And I think I bring that insatiable thirst to know more of our neighbors, and also to take the message to Washington relentlessly, competitively. One of the things I've taught as a coach over the years is, you don't quit. And, I got back to this 10-point plan we reduced yesterday, and I won't stop on any of these things. That's just not my DNA. And with 31 years of broadcast experience, like you, Jim, I think I can articulate matters fairly well, and I would take those skills to Washington, D.C., so people understand just how dynamic, wonderful, and seriously, our part of the world here in southern Arizona should be taken by people in Washington.
How about when you made this decision, Dave, and you wanted to run for such an office, did you have to consult with folks in your family and friends? And if so, what did they have to say about this?
Family was first, and then several people in this community that have been asking me to run for years were second. And, we started taking a look at, during that exploratory time, which, by the way, I think is a great idea, when you can declare yourself in the special status of an exploratory candidate and really evaluate whether or not you think you've got a prayer to raise the money and take the time and assemble a team. And I'm grateful that so far we've had it never ends, but we have a pretty good reaction to the campaign in terms of raising funds. We're not over the top, we're not rich or anything like that, but we are off to a very serious and good start. And then we've been able to assemble a real varsity team of people who care about this community as well, and who are now associated with our campaign. It's not my campaign, it's our campaign. And I'm so proud of them, and I'm so proud of the people that have come on board to support this candidacy.
Well, and it does take money, and I ride in from Vail, and your signs are everywhere all of a sudden. It seems like about a week ago you must have got an infusion of printing, because all of a sudden I can't go anywhere without seeing them. Money is a big factor, right? I mean, money, you hate to go there, but without money you can't run for Congress, right? I mean, what are we talking about? Millions?
Well, I think, if by the time you get done with this special election seat, you're probably getting close to that, and that'll be for all the candidates. It is a daunting task when you consider how much money is required to assemble a team and to purchase everything from signs to radio and television commercials and everything in between that's necessary for a good campaign. So, yeah, it's not. It is intimidating at first, but it's not insurmountable, and you just really have to, pin your ears back and run as hard as you can.
All right, last question for you. I know you're in that whirlwind. All my friends or associates in this world that run for office, you almost can't get them. They just get into just a whirlwind of busyness, a crazy schedule. So I appreciate what you're undertaking because it is really something. It's all yours. The mic is yours, Dave. Why should people vote for you come election time?
Well, Jim, I'm hoping you'll have me back. So today I'm going to talk about jobs. I do want to reform the tax code. I want America to start paying down this debt that's been accumulated by our generation of $14 trillion, $15 trillion. Who knows what it's going to be in the next few months. I think we need real health care reform. I agree that the health care system, in terms of distribution, needed attention, but I don't think what we have now is sustainable, and I think that has to go. I want to maximize, and that's something we call Obamacare, by the way. We need to start, Jim, having a real discussion about energy in this country. We're not done with oil yet. I mean, anybody who thinks that we're going to have solar-powered cars in the next 2 weeks is delusional. Solar power is coming. There's a lot of alternate sources, but we're not there yet, and we need to power this economy. You look around, you talk about signs in this town. Well, yeah, I like seeing my signs, but I don't like seeing gas stations with, $3.50, $3.90, soon to be $4 for a gallon of unleaded gasoline, regular unleaded. And can you imagine what that's going to do to housewives in this community that has to run around with kids and the soccer moms? Let's start with them. How much that's going to impact they're going to have on their lives about all that money going into gasoline for their own purposes, much less the fact that groceries are delivered by oil-based vehicles. Everything we own is delivered that way, except for intellectual property, which we can send through the internet. I just want to make sure that we grow Southern Arizona's economy. A couple of great examples is to find a way for us to all get together and support the biotech and geotourism industries that I think can lift this community and make it different than others. Of course, I believe in Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and its missions, and the very same is true without hesitation for Fort Huachuca. They're both in the same district, our district. I want to repeal, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the referees in Washington, D.C., quote-unquote referees who have burdensome regulations and by their own admission $10,000 an employee a year for compliance. I want to expand free trade. We live so close to the border. We should be taking advantage of it. There are countries in South America, Central America that are doing just fine. Mexico's economy actually is not that bad. We need to expand our free trade and take an advantage of our gateway to the south from highways 19 to the Mexican Highway 15, which is the main trunk through all of Mexico into South America. We need to stabilize, reform, and grow the housing market. We haven't built houses here for a long time, and the housing industry is a very important component of our economy. And then, of course, one of the things I want to do, and Jimmy asked me how I can be different, I want to be ferocious about reteaching young people and even some of our friends, our seasoned friends in our age group about the miracles of the free enterprise system and how it creates wealth, not for just one or two, but can create wealth for everyone when it's left unimpeded. So that's my forum today. How's that?
Not bad, David, not bad. How about a website they can check you out on?
DaveSitton.com, www.
And
Jim, how long do you think we're all going to have to say www?
I don't even say it. I don't say it anymore. I gave up a while ago.
Just go to DaveSitton.com.